OK, let's bring in Sami Al-Arian. He directs the Centre for Islam and Global Affairs at Istanbul University. Thanks again for joining us here. First of all, I want to talk about where negotiations are at, or not at this point in time, because we heard from Qatar's Foreign Ministry that a ceasefire is not close, but they remain hopeful. How hopeful are you that there could be a ceasefire anytime soon?
I'm not very hopeful. The gap is really wide between the parties. Israel so far refuses to commit to any kind of ceasefire, permanent ceasefire. The resistance insists that any kind of repatriation of the captives, that there have to be a permanent, or at least a guarantee by the U.S. and other parties of a permanent ceasefire. So that's not happening because Israel insists to continue its operation after they get their captives, which is the strongest card that the resistance has. Then the issue of withdrawal. Israel refuses to withdraw to the lines prior to October 7th. It wants to stay at different strategic points within Gaza, which the resistance totally rejects that there has to be also a commitment to a complete withdrawal. And the third point is about the return of the displaced. Palestinians, over now 1 million people have been displaced from the north. They want to have free access, unfettered access to go back to their homes. Israel insists that only women and children and old people would be allowed, and the resistance says that would not be acceptable because obviously women and children and others, they need able-bodied to help them to get back and on their feet. So, and then on the issue of the numbers, I mean, Israel wanted to do a 3-to-1 ratio. The resistance wanted to do much more for the civilians. Let's keep in mind that Israel has captured, or at least detained, these are people without any charges, 7,200 Palestinians in the West Bank and over 4,000 in Gaza. So all that, Israel wants to give a portion of that as if nothing has happened. The resistance wants also to get those who were detained before October 7th. There were about 5,500. Many of them have long sentences, and they wanted to get at least for the soldiers. So the negotiations now are bogged down on the ratio and how many would be, particularly on the 4 female soldiers that the resistance is willing to do at stage 1.
Yeah, clearly a massive divide between the two parties. But how much pressure is on Hamas right now from people within Gaza? Because they're facing famine on a daily basis. We're seeing children dying from malnutrition. Is there much pressure coming from within Gaza on Hamas to do any sort of deal at this point in time?
That's what Israel hopes, that it can pressure the people through killing and mass starvation and other kind of pressure to pressure the resistance. But so far the resistance says that they're not willing to do because they don't trust the Israelis. The Israelis are going to do what they're going to do. They can't blame the resistance for this mass starvation or for the killings. And people, at least the overwhelming majority of the people understand that. So far, they have been sticking with the resistance.
I want to talk a little bit about international pressure that has been exerted on Israel. It doesn't seem like that is having any sort of effect at all. Why do you think that is?
Because Israel doesn't really care about international pressure except America. And America has not putting a lot of pressure on the Israelis. They really don't care about the UN. They don't care about the European Union. They don't care about the world opinion. Of course, they care to a certain extent, but effectively, what makes a difference would be American pressure. And throughout history, whenever there was American pressure, at least since the late 1960s and beyond, then the Israelis would oblige. Even in 1956, they obliged. But the Americans have not been applying any kind of pressure. They speak double languages. They speak one language in which they say there is a red line, and then, but there is really no red line. We ask Israelis to not attack Rafah, but we're still going to provide them with weapons. You know, as long as they speak that language and they are part of the problem, not the solution. And the Americans have been actually part of this onslaught and this genocide. They have not been part of a solution at all. This talk about providing aid, building a pier and all that, that is just window dressing. It's just a propaganda, in my view, or at least trying to fulfill or achieve Israeli objectives by other means, because they are fully on board in what the Israelis are trying to achieve.
OK, we'll have to leave it there, but we really do appreciate your time once again, Sami. Thank you.
Thank you.